Hello. So the lunar nodes are about to shift. They are going to move on July 25th. So this month, in about a week, we can expect the South Node and North Node to shift from Virgo and Pisces to Leo and Aquarius. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to talk about what each sign has learned and become aware of while the South and North Node have been in Virgo and Aquarius. So, a little bit about the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes spend 18 months, around 18 months in each on each axis. So, since January of 2025, we've had the lunar nodes be in Virgo and Pisces. So we had the South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces. So this is going to affect everyone differently based on their birth chart. But what this has done is it's allowed us to see, or it's allowed us to use what we're really good at and to develop those skills and that natural talent. And it allows us to use that in order to evolve. So the South Node is all about our past gifts. It's what we're really comfortable with. It's what we can lean on, and it's what we can count on as well. So there's a really interesting um, dynamic between the South and North Node. And although we always want to work towards our North Node that's in our birth chart, or when we have the lunar nodes in certain signs, there's always a focus on embodying what that energy is in that North Node. However, I think just like really thinking about my past experience with the Virgo and Pisces axis, I'm really learning that the South Node played such a big role in me understanding the energy of the Virgo and Pisces axis. I kind of had this like realization that my South Node, so this theme was the South Node was in Virgo. I'm an Aquarius rising, so the South Node was in my eighth house where Virgo sits. The eighth house really was the highlight or a big theme the past 18 months for me. And I really got to learn and understand what I was good at in regards to eighth house themes. I really relied on eighth house themes and counted on eighth house themes to build and evolve myself. So the past 18 months, I'd say something that was really familiar was organizing my death and rebirth, organizing my psychological health, my mental health, and organizing how I transform myself. So I keep saying organizing, that's because of Virgo's influence. But what really became so solid in how I evolved myself was that focus on the South Node. And because the South Node was in my eighth house, there was also themes of inheritance um, and investments. And that happened to be a really big theme for me these past 18 months. So I'll get a little bit more into that when I go over what each sign has been learning and becoming aware of. But I think what I really learned about the South and North Node is that even though the South Node is considered your comfort zone, it's like an essential like energy that has your back, that allows you to move towards the North Node, move towards that energy that you are learning about and trying to embody. So let me get into Virgo and Pisces and the Virgo and Pisces axis. So Virgo and Pisces sit opposite of each other in the birth chart. And there's a really interesting connection with these two zodiac signs. And I think what the core of the connection is healing. So Virgo naturally occupies the sixth house, and the sixth house is about routine. It's about cleanliness. And when I say cleanliness, I mean in terms of the little things of waking up, making your bed, waking up, having your clothes organized to get ready and like save you time when you're getting ready for your day. Having your home cleaned, having your car cleaned, having like no clutter around you so you can have an efficient routine, an efficient start to your day. And Virgo is also about the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health routines you have to taking care of yourself. And Virgo, another theme of Virgo or sixth house themes is people you service on a day to day basis. So it's a lot about what you do on a day to day basis, and it's a lot about the little things, and it's a lot about the things that you can see. So, because Virgo's an earth sign, it's earth is about senses, it's about things you can touch, feel, see, smell, taste, and it's about building. So, Virgo, the healing aspect is doing the little things on a day to day basis and the routine around efficiency and organization. It's about how you prepare, it's about how you plan, it's about how you keep things clean and tidy, keeping a clean and tidy routine. So there's a lot of healing in that because you show up on a day to day basis with consistency in the little things. And the little things really add up. The little things are what keep you on track. They allow you to focus on a goal and minimizing distraction, I'd say. So even though Virgo sits in the sixth house and it's all about seeing things, seeing like the senses, like see, feel, touch, um, building, planning, organizing, that type of stuff, there's so much healing in that and how it connects to the 12th house. So now talking about the 12th house in Pisces. The 12th house is about our subconscious. It's about how we're programmed on a very deep level and how we're programmed from when we grew up and all the things that we don't remember but live inside us. So it's not about what we can see. It's not about what we can reach out and grab and touch. It's about what we feel and what we know in our bones. And the 12th house is really about intuition and spirituality. It's about knowing that inner knowing that we have that we can't explain. And it's about becoming spiritual with our healing. And 12th house themes are it's hard to grasp, or it can be hard to grasp because it lives in like it lives in depth. It lives behind the curtain. It's not what everyone can see, but it's like how you show up and you can have a smile on your face, but you could really be going through something that is a struggle or really tough to go through. So the healing in the 12th house and Pisces, it's about intuition, it's about trust, it's about getting connected with your spirituality. It's also about dreams and art and forms of poetry, writing, music. So it's really dreamy, imaginative, and flowy. While when we look at the opposite side, the sixth house where Virgo is at, Virgo is all about structure. It's about a written plan or a program that you follow day in and day out. Pisces on the 12th house is about flow, and it's about listening to that inner voice, listening to that intuition, and following that. So, the connection between the 6th and 12th house, the Virgo and Pisces axis, can be seen as healing. And I would say that going through, so next I want to talk about what each sign has been learning and becoming aware of. And I want to give Virgo the key word of organization, and Pisces the key word of intuition. I'm going to add a couple more words to just describe what that energy is, but I think when you understand what Virgo, what the South Node in Virgo has done for you the past 18 months, I think organization is a really good word to focus on. And on the opposite end, when we think of what the North Node in Pisces has done for us the past 18 months, I think intuition is a really good word to focus on. So, before I get into all the signs, I want to mention that this month the lunar nodes shift from Virgo and Pisces to Leo and Aquarius. But that doesn't mean that the story that's unfolding, the story that we're learning about for ourselves on the Virgo and Pisces axis, it doesn't mean that that is done yet. It's not closed out. And this is because the eclipses are still following the Virgo and Pisces axis. It's going to be a slow closeout. So, what we can expect is next month in August is eclipse season. We will have an eclipse in the sign of Pisces. So, this is going to begin the closeout to the past 18 months of the Virgo and Pisces axis. So, we'll have that eclipse in Pisces in August, and then looking forward to February 2027. February 2027 is still a part of the astrological year. So, it's in February 2027, we're going to have an eclipse in Virgo. So that's going to be the complete closeout, the complete um, tying up all the loose ends of what we've been learning and becoming aware of while the lunar nodes have been in Virgo and Pisces. So just know that it's still going to gradually, it's still going to be a part, the energy is still going to be something that we're learning about, and it's still going to be a part of focus, but we're moving away from it. We're really moving away from it. So this is a good time to just reflect on what we've been learning and becoming aware of while the South Node has been in Virgo and the North Node has been in Pisces. And I think you're going to be surprised about how much the focus has been on the Virgo and Pisces axis in your personal birth chart. So let's start with Aries. Aries. Aries rising. We're talking about the rising sign. So Aries rising. The Virgo South Node has been in your 6th house of health routines, day to day schedules, organization, planning, programming, and also who you serve and who you're surrounded by on a day to day basis. And the North Node has been in your 12th house of your subconscious, deep programming, intuition, spirituality, and what you can't see but you can feel. So, Aries, I would say that we're going to talk about the Virgo South Node in your 6th house. I would say that you realized how much of a good planner you are, how much you are dedicated to routine, and how much you like having your little things in order in order to optimize your day or optimize whatever goal you're working towards, you could have really leaned on organizing your daily schedule for success. So, organizing your daily schedule, organizing your health routines, whether it's physical health, so organizing how you take care of your body, whether that's food or working out, organizing your mental health. Maybe you've been really focused on therapy, and that's been a a theme for you for the past 18 months. Emotional health, maybe you've been really dedicated to journaling. So you've probably had a really big focus on sixth house themes that you've been able to, or that you are naturally good at, and you've been able to lean on. And this could also be regarding your who you work with, who you're surrounded by on a day-to-day basis, because it's dealing with the sixth house. So you may have been able to rely a lot on your coworkers or on people that you see on a day-to-day basis. And now moving to 12th house, I'd say you really relied on the structure, the organization, and the natural talent you have with your sixth house themes. And that allowed you to dive into your intuition and your spirituality. Sorry, I have dogs. So, having that good, strong routine, that good day to day schedule, has allowed you to kind of not have any clutter or distractions around you, to focus on those 12th house themes of spirituality and subconscious, and your um, a level of like deep programming you have. You probably were able to focus on, and there's also a connection with therapy on the 6th and 12th house, um, with being able to focus on a mental emotional health routine, and that allows you to kind of open up what you feel, what you can't see, but what you feel. Stories that are like embedded in you, but they're deep and they've happened a long time ago. So you've probably been able to really connect with your subconscious and what people don't see, what's kind of behind the curtain, and maybe not so easy to look at or not so easy to sort through, but moving towards that energy has been something that's been unfolding for you the past 18 months. And you may have been able to have the help from music, from art, from anything magical, mystical, imaginative. Those could have been themes that have helped you dive into your programming and your subconscious. And I would say that having that really good routine, that day to day routine, and that Virgo South node really highlighted and gave you a solid foundation to work into those 12th house themes. So, Taurus rising, the Virgo South node has been in your fifth house of children, hobbies, play, and the Pisces North Node has been in your 11th house of friends, networking groups, communities, and dreams that you have for yourself. So, the Virgo South Node could have been really showing you what you're good at in terms of your hobbies. You may have found that your hobbies, the things that you enjoy and that are very fun for you to do, those may have given you like a solid foundation to your networking groups, your friends, your communities that you're a part of. And it may have opened the doors to new communities, friend groups, and networking groups based on the hobbies that you are good at and you enjoy to do. And So Virgo South Node in your fifth house. Children could have been a theme as well. Maybe you have kids, or you had a kid, or a child, kid, child, and you realized, you becoming a parent, or you parenting, has been something that is just very natural for you. It's you're a great parent. And I think what that could have done is open up a new community of friends, of networking groups, just new groups that you're around. And it also could be connected to dreams. So maybe I'm trying to think of something that, like an example. Maybe having children has allowed you to fulfill a dream of yours. Maybe that dream of yours is being connected with mothers, with parents, or building a community that supports children, that supports parents and children. I think that could be a theme of your Virgo in the fifth house, Pisces in the 11th house. And the Pisces North house in your the Pisces North Node in your 11th house, that could have opened up communities that are spiritual. They're communities that learn about intuition, magic, alchemy, spirituality, healing, music, artistry, poetry. You may have found that the past 18 months, you are a part, or you have become more spiritual. You have become more connected with your intuition, and that has connected you with a larger group and a new group of spiritual and intuitive people. Or that may be a theme of the communities that you're becoming a part of. And then we have Gemini. So Gemini, the Virgo South node has been in your fourth house, and the Pisces North node has been in your 10th house. So the fourth house is about home, it's about our roots, it's about where we come from, where we live, and the maternal line, or maternal lineage, and mothers and maternal figures in our lives. So the Virgo South Node in your fourth house may have made you realize your natural talents um, around home themes. So maybe natural talents around having a beautiful home, having a home that feels safe, having a childhood that feels safe, or encouraging a childhood that's safe for your children. And it could also be about being a really good maternal figure, or a good mother, or having good maternal figures that you've been able to lean on. I think that's actually a really good point. Is if you're not a mom, or if you're not a mom, you may have found that you have a really good family of maternal figures that you can lean on. So I'd say that the Virgo South Node in your fourth house has been about really leaning on your family, leaning on your home life, leaning on maternal figures in your life. And having that support at home is it's really important. And when it's connected to the 10th house, so the Pisces North Node in the 10th house, it's connected to having a career or a reputation around intuition, spirituality, around healing what you feel and but you can't see. And it's also, or it can also be, a career and reputation around music and art, and imaginative and dreamy type of themes and aesthetic. So I'd say that you've probably been, or you could have been, really focused on creating a career for yourself that is spiritual and intuitive, or magical, mystical, and artistic. So you may have been realizing that your steady foundation, your stable foundation of your home life and where you come from, and that Virgo South Node in your fourth house, that stable home life allowed you to build a spiritual career for yourself or an artistic career for yourself. And that's really cool. I like that one for you, Gemini, Gemini risings. And next we have Cancer risings. So Cancer risings, the Virgo South Node has been in your third house, and the Pisces North Node has been in your ninth house. So, what the Virgo South Node in your third house could have highlighted is your natural talents for communication. And the interesting thing about this is that Virgo's ruler is Mercury. And the third house's natural ruler is also Mercury. So communication could have been huge for you the past 18 months. You may have found that um, you feel more comfortable communicating. You've found your voice. You found people that allow you to feel heard. You may have also been very analytical and intellectual, very much um, like mentally stimulated by processing information. So I'd say that the Virgo South Node in your third house has been highlighting your mind, your intellect, and your communication and how you speak. You may have found that you are a very strong speaker, and um, and you're a very precise speaker, very clear, um, very organized, and I'd say very practical. And you're a really good communicator. Right? That's what I'm really trying to say. And and this also could have dealt with your siblings and neighbors. And you may have found that your siblings and neighbors are people that you can communicate really easily with, or they have an influence on the way you communicate and the way you process information. And maybe they were also just mentally stimulating, and they always brought up good conversations for you guys to be a part of. So I'd say the Virgo South Node really highlighted your talents in communication. And when we look at the Pisces North Node in your ninth house, you could have realized that your talents in communication really pushed you to to higher education. Maybe you wanted to go to college, get your bachelor's, master's, PhD in any type of communication, any type of studies dealing with communication. I'd say that this is really the act, like having the third house and ninth house highlighted. It's about communicating, it's about teaching. So I'd say that maybe you went to school to become a teacher. Maybe you focus on studies around communication. I'd say this is also very spiritual. The third and ninth house is very spiritual. It's about like life philosophy, and it's about alchemy, and it's about astrology and esoteric, like knowledge and practices. So you could have really been diving into your spirituality, and having the North Node and Pisces in your ninth house, it really emphasizes that this was probably a spiritual time for you. And you now, after the Virgo and Pisces axis has been in the third house and ninth house for you, you probably see that maybe you're communicating about spirituality and intuition. Maybe you find that you are teaching about spirituality and intuition, or even music and artistry. This is really about speaking about spirituality. And I wanted to say one other thing, life philosophy. you may be really a part of your life philosophy could really be about using your voice, and using your voice for, obviously conversational purposes, but using your voice about what you deeply know and feel, and also using your voice about your intuition. So, Cancer rising, this was probably a very spiritual time for you. Next is Leo rising. Leo risings have had the Virgo South Node in their second house of self esteem and earned income, and the Pisces North Node in their eighth house of death, rebirth, transformation, of inheritance and investments. So the Virgo South Node in your second house could have really shown you that you're good at making money. And the way you make money is through communication. So you may have been um, you may have been leaning back on your talents and really supported by your talents in communication, and that may have been able to earn you money, and you may have found that may have been a shift for you too. Maybe the past 18 months while the Virgo and Pisces axis has been highlighted, you may have found that communication is how you should make money. I don't know if you are on YouTube, on social media, you have a podcast, or you're a public speaker, or you're you're a good communicator at work. That's something that is really highlighted for you and is just a natural talent of yours. And you may have also realized that communication um, is it like makes you feel very good as well. You're able to communicate how you feel and communicate about your self-esteem and what makes you feel really good. So I'd also say that since the Virgo South Node was in your second house, you could have been organizing the way you made money. So whether you may be someone who's really good at budgeting, you're really good at having a strict or tight budget, and you're good with your money. So that could have been a theme for you while Virgo was in your South Node. And when you connect this to the Pisces in your North Node, or the Pisces North Node in your eighth house, there could have been a focus on relying on inheritance for resources, maybe even relying on investments. But when the Pisces North Node is in your eighth house, there's a lot of like focus on trust and intuition. So when you have the Virgo South Node in your second house, money can be very like you're good at calculating money, you're good at staying within a budget, you don't overspend, and you have like a tidy approach to money, if that makes sense. And with the Pisces North Node in your eighth house, there may have been a trust in earning from investments, earning from money that you don't have right away, but you've obviously invested in. So maybe home, the stock market. It's trusting that you're earning money and your money's working for you in those places. And also trusting that you potentially have um, potential to earn more income when you get married, through marriage or through inheritance. And with the Pisces North Node in your eighth house, there is a deep transformation around money, and also around maybe relying on a spiritual way to heal. So eighth house is about transforming, and Pisces is a very spiritual sign about deep the deep things that lead that oh my god about deep programming and things that live behind the surface and behind the curtain. So the eighth house, Pisces North Node in your eighth house, could have been about really finding a way to let that flow, finding a way to become more spiritual and intuitive with your transformation. And and yeah, I'd say that is a good that's a good overview of your second and eighth house. And I would say that the focus could have really been on money during this time. So, Virgo risings, you had the Virgo South Node in your first house and the Pisces North Node in your seventh house. And what this means is the Virgo South Node in your first house could have really allowed you to learn about your identity and your personality. You could have really relied on who you are and even looks. You could have relied on your appearance when it came to relationships. And this is because the first and the seventh house deal with the self in the first house and one to one relationships in the seventh house. So this is probably an this was probably a time where you were really like focused on who you are, focused on that being the reason why you attract certain people in your life, and then that also being a reason why you're able to kind of scoot the wrong people out of your life. So leaning on who you are, leaning on um, what matters to you, leaning on how you like to get yourself ready, how you like to dress yourself, how you like to express yourself. You really leaned on that being the deciding factor in who's in your life, who gets to be in your life, and who you allowed to either walk away or who you chose to part ways from. And I think this was probably a really magnetic time. And and I think that is because there was a huge focus on the self. And the South Node was highlighting that you have a natural talent of focusing on yourself and knowing who you are and letting that do the talking, or letting that kind of decipher who, like, your relationships. And with the Pisces North Node in your seventh house, there may have been a focus on like spiritual partners, intuitive partners, and that can be platonic, romantic, and business partners. So you may have found that there's um, the people that you have one-on-one relationships with are spiritual. They are intuitive. They are connected to music and artistry, and da, 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 the Pisces North Node in your seventh house could also have been about trusting the other person, trusting your friend, trusting your partner, trusting your business partner. So I think there is a lot of trust that you had to put in other people. You had to trust that you chose the right business partner. You had to trust that you chose the right partner to spend your life with, or the right partner to date. And you had to trust that you have the right friend or friends in your life. So it's dealing with spiritual people in your one to one relationships, and also dealing with trusting your intuition. Maybe you have to trust that you are with the right people, or maybe when you have an intuitive feeling that this may be the wrong person, you followed that and you learned that you had to listen to your intuition when it came to your one on one relationships. So we have Libra rising next. So, Libra rising, the Virgo South Node was in your 12th house, and the Pisces North Node was in your 6th house. So, having this is interesting because this is the spiritual axis, the 6th and the 12th and 6th house. And but you had Virgo in the 12th house, And the Virgo South Node in your 12th house could have been really good for you. You could have been really organizing your subconscious or your intuition or your spirituality. There's like a method or a plan and a good way that you know how to organize things that are unseen, your subconscious, the way you're programmed on a deep level. And Virgo South Node in your 12th house could have really helped you like clean up 12th house themes. And I think with Virgo South Node in your 12th house, you may have understood how intuitive and spiritual you are. You may have understood how much that you have like an importance in a spiritual practice. So let's say whether it's like spirituality or religion, you have a dedicated practice that's not only um, what you do on a day-to-day schedule and like the little things that you do on a consistent basis, but all that like planning and consistency is it allows you to build and grow such a spiritual and intuitive practice or knowing. So I'd say the Virgo South Node in your 12th house has been a really spiritual time, and you probably have discovered a lot of spiritual gifts you have, and you probably have come really, really in touch with your intuition. And with the Pisces North Node in your 6th house, there could have been a focus on letting your day to day flow. Maybe your day to day schedule doesn't need such a like strict routine or a clean routine because your 12th house is so organized. I think with the Pisces North Node in your 6th house, you could have realized that maybe you have more of a spiritual approach to your day to day. You let things flow. Or maybe you need music and artistry in your day to day, or where you work, the coworkers you're surrounded by, or the people you service could have been spiritual, intuitive. They could be alchemists, they could be musicians and artists. So, your day to day with the Pisces North Node in your 6th house could have been you wake up, spirituality, wake up, intuition, wake up, music, wake up, spiritual practice, stuff like that. And Scorpio rising is next. So, Scorpio rising, the Virgo South Node has been in your 11th house, and the Pisces North Node has been in your 5th house. So, the Virgo South Node in your 11th house, you may have really noticed your natural talents around being in groups of people. Um, Maybe you've realized that you really like being a part of communities, like being part of networking groups or friend groups that are Virgo in nature. So there could have been um, communities, friend groups, networking groups that you were in that were focused on health. So maybe they're focused on physical health, on mental, emotional, spiritual health, and I'd say that um, health is a big deal when it comes to the communities that you're a part of. So you may have been relying on your natural talents for being a part of communities like that. And you may also have been relying on being known for someone who's very healthy or who takes care of their health. They have a plan that takes care of how they fuel their body, how you work out. You may have a plan around how you organize your mental health. You may have a plan around how you organize your emotional and spiritual health. And you may always find yourself with like minded people. And the Pisces North Node in your 5th house could have really been pushing you towards um, spiritual hobbies. So the 5th house is all about um, hobbies, things you enjoy. It's about fun and play, and it's also about children. So, Pisces North Node, I think you could have been finding that you have a lot of fun with intuitive and spiritual hobbies. So maybe you have fun with astrology, maybe you have fun with human design, maybe you have fun with alchemy or tarot or esoteric practices. You may have found that you've been um, spending your like your free time doing those things. And Pisces North Node in your fifth house could have potentially meant that a part of your spiritual evolution is becoming a parent. So maybe you became a parent during the past 18 months and you found that it was something that you not only really enjoy, but it made you very connected to yourself, your spirituality, and your intuition. And it could have really evolved you um, in a very deep way. And next we have Sagittarius risings. So, Sagittarius risings, the Virgo South Node was in your 10th house of career and reputation, and the Pisces North Node was in your 4th house of home, where you come from, your childhood, and mothers and maternal figures in your lives. So, I would say this is an interesting one. I'd say that Virgo, South Node in your 10th house, allowed you to realize your talent in having a career. And having Virgo in the 10th house means that you have had a plan to your career. You know the steps to um, to to progress in your career. You know where you want to go and you know how to get there. So the Virgo South Node in your 10th house, this may have been a time where career and career growth has been such a huge focus for you. You've maybe been able um, to earn more money through your career growth. You maybe have been able to get exactly what you want out of a career. And your career also could have been around health. So it could be around a physical health career, a mental health career, emotional. It could even be a spiritual health career. So it's about healing, and it could be healing the mind, the body, the spirit, the emotions. And this one last point with the Virgo South Node in your 10th house, I'd say that you probably have allowed yourself to earn freedom with your career because you're so practical with your career, because you know how to have a plan around your career and you know where you're going and you know how to get there, and you're also committed to that. Your home life, the 4th house, so the Pisces North Node in your 4th house, your home life could have become a little, you have a little more freedom there as well. Maybe you've been able to relocate because you have a dedicated or stable career. So maybe you are living in a new home. You're sorry, I have dogs, so they're barking at some neighbors right now. Okay, I think they're done. So I'd say that the Pisces North Node in your 4th house could have been about moving. It could have been about moving into a new home, moving to a new state, moving to another country. I think there probably is movement with your home life because you earned it with your career. And there's probably a lot of flexibility around your home life as well. Maybe you have multiple homes, or maybe you're able to work from home and choose wherever you want to live, or you're able to travel a lot and make a state or a country your home for a month 2 months and you're able to move around. So I think that's a really cool focus for you while the Virgo South Node was in your 10th house and the Pisces North Node was in your fourth house of home. And I'm going to say that I think home life could have become very spiritual for you. Maybe you're able to focus on having a very, very mystical, spiritual home, a home that's filled with art and music and writing and poetry. So basically a home that is like very deep, very like in the feels, and having a home that allows you to just flow with all the spirituality, the artistry, having a home that's very flowy and that you can truly relax in and just be at peace in has allowed you to really decompress, enjoy, and really be like happy with because you have such a stable, planned career. And then we have Capricorn risings. So, Capricorn risings, the Virgo South Node was in your ninth house of higher education, of life philosophy, and international travel. And the Pisces North, I may have said Virgo North Node. I meant Virgo South Node if I said the opposite. And then Pisces North Node was in your third house of communication, processing, mental processing, um, short distance travel, siblings, neighbors, and early education. Excuse me. Excuse me. So we have the Virgo South Node in your ninth house. You've maybe really learned and become aware of your natural talent when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to philosophy, when it comes to religion, when it also comes to astrology and esoteric practices. Um, and you may also have really noticed maybe you've had past education, past higher education. So you could have a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD. You could be very educated, and you could have found that that's something that you're really good at being in school. You're really good about earning higher education, and you've been able to. It's really paid off that you've had a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD. I'd say that um, the Virgo South Node in your ninth house, you could have also been traveling a lot internationally. So wherever you live, you may have been traveling to different countries, and it may be very easy for you to do that. Maybe you know multiple languages, so you're able to just pick up and really like acclimate to a new culture. So I think higher education, learning, being educated with a bachelor's, master's, PhD could have really paid off right now, or the past 18 months with the Virgo South Node in your ninth house. And you may have been traveling a lot. You may have found that you've learned multiple languages, or your knowledge of multiple languages have allowed you to completely um, expand like your where you travel, who you meet, who you're around. And that connected to the third house, I would say, is the Pisces North Node in your third house. There could have You could have become a professor. I'd say this is like not just becoming a teacher, or maybe someone who teaches, like maybe you have an esoteric practice. Maybe you are a tarot reader and you find that you've you teach tarot now, or maybe you are a professor at a university now. I'd say that the Pisces North Node in your third house, because third house is all about communication, I'd say that you could have become a professor, or you could have found that you are you're wanting to teach. And this also, the Pisces North Node in your third house is also connected to short distance travel. So maybe now the Virgo South Node, you're someone who is well traveled, and maybe you've been able to do so much traveling that now you've found like your favorite place that you want to live and you want to settle down. I would say that your traveling um, like out of the country is now becoming to traveling within a state, a city, a town, stuff like that. So you may have been able to condense the amount of travel that you do now, and I'd say that's something that you do, that's something that you want to do. So Pisces North Node in your third house also deals with siblings. So maybe I'd say that your siblings and neighbors, you are connected to the people around you. Maybe you have connected with siblings. Maybe you've realized that there's a spiritual need to connect with your siblings, and maybe you found that your siblings are spiritual people. They're people that are very intuitive, or maybe your siblings are musicians and artists. And I'd say third house themes get a very with the Pisces North Node in your third house, you may have been communicating about spirituality, communicating about things that are behind the curtain, things that are unseen. You may have been communicating about your um, subconscious programming, and you could have been communicating that with your siblings as well. So this is really an interesting axis with the Virgo South Node in your ninth house and the Pisces North Node in your third house. You could have learned a lot, and now you could be communicating to the people around you about what you've learned. So we have Aquarius risings. I'm an Aquarius rising, so this might be very natural for me to talk about. And the Virgo South Node was in our eighth house of death, rebirth, transformation, of inheritance, investments, and psychology. And the North Node in Pisces was in our second house of self worth, self worth, self esteem, and earned income. So, the Virgo South Node in the eighth house, and I'm probably going to highlight a lot of what I've been going through and what I've learned. But I'm going to go into like just talking about a lot of the potential of what the Virgo South Node in our eighth house could have allowed us to become aware of. So I'd say the Virgo South Node in the eighth house is really understanding gifts and talents around transformation and being able to organize how you transform. So when you deal with the eighth house, you're dealing with like psychological themes. You could be dealing with deep therapy. You could be dealing with death and rebirth. It's really a eighth house is really around themes that are not so much easy to talk about. So with the Virgo South Node in the eighth house for Aquarius risings, you could have found that you're really good at talking about the taboo. You're really good about talking about what is not so easy for others, for anyone to talk about. And it has to deal with healing, and it has to deal with transformation. So, sorry, my dog's barking. So, dealing with the Virgo South Node in the eighth house, you may have found that you needed a way to organize the way you transform. And maybe that way of organizing was actually talking about those taboo topics, or talking about um, like what is going on psychologically. And you may have been able to organize it in a way that deals with the occult, it deals with astrology, it deals with human design, it deals with tarot, it deals with psychics and mediums. That could have been a really big focus while Virgo, the Virgo South node was in your eighth house. And I'd also say that you probably leaned on you could have potentially leaned on inheritance. Um, you could have leaned on other people's money, and that doesn't mean that you're using someone else's money um, to get by, but you could have realized that people in your life have supported you, and you've been able to understand that you have those resources. And investments, I'd say that with the Virgo South Node in the eighth house, you may have realized that your investments have paid off. You may have had a plan, whether you used to um, continuously like invest in the stock market, in, in that sort of way. I'm getting a little, I'm getting a little fuzzy. Um, I'd say that you may have realized that you were good at investing. You may have had a plan to your investments, and you may find that now your money was working hard for itself and your investments have grown. So I'd say that that could have been a theme as well. And with the North Node in Pisces in your second house, there could have been a focus on spirituality and your subconscious and music and artistry being a part of how you earn money and being something that really makes you feel good about yourself. So, with the Pisces North Node in your second house, you may have been diving into spiritual practices, and you may have realized that this is something that you need to embody in order to feel good about yourself. And being in the second house, it is a good part of your personality to have a like a spiritual intuitive practice. And I would also say that the second house deals with earned income. So you may have found that you've been able to earn income through spirituality, intuition, talking about your subconscious programming, talking about what's behind the scenes that no one can see but you can feel. And you could have also earned money through artistry, through becoming or being a musician, or even writing, such as I'd say like poetry is a big thing. And I also think of like songwriting as well. So I'd say that this is it's a very like deep and spiritual axis, and you have realized that your Virgo South Node has allowed you to have a plan and have a really organized view of how you transform, and you've probably been able to really talk about things that are not easy to talk about, and you found a way to communicate it in a clear way. And with the Pisces North Node in your second house, you may be earning money through spiritual pursuits. And you may find that spirituality, you may have intuitive gifts, and that could be earning you money as well. And last but not least, we have Pisces rising. And this is really special because the Virgo South Node was in your seventh house and the Pisces North Node was in your first house. So, with the Virgo South Node in your seventh house, you could have been really, you could have realized that you have a talent for having an organized way to view your one-on-one relationships. So when I think of like an organized way around that, maybe you work with your friends, you have a business with your friends, maybe you work with your partner. There's like a connection with all the types of one-on-one relationships. So that's platonic, romantic, and business. So maybe there's a way for you to work with a combination of those type of relationships, and you're really organized in doing so. And I'd also say that your one-on-one to relationships, people that you are drawn to or people that are drawn to you, are people that are health focused. So they're focused on physical health, they're focused on nutrition, they're focused on mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. So you may find that your one-to-one relationships are really focused on mind, body, spirit, and having like a very organized, very planned um, personality around that, if that makes sense. So I would also say that with the Virgo South Node in your seventh house, you probably really relied on your one to one relationships. And I think you learned a lot about yourself based on your one to one relationships. And now connecting this to the first house, the the Pisces North Node in your first house, I would say, is learning about how spiritual you are, learning about how intuitive you are, and how connected you are to the unseen. People know this about you. Your first house is how you express yourself, how you look. It's your personality and your identity. So people right off the bat know you're a spiritual person. And while the Pisces North Node was in your first house, you may have been becoming more aware that people know this about you, and you may have been embodying it a little bit more. Maybe your appearance has changed based on your spirituality. Um, Maybe your personality is more expressive of spirituality, of intuition. This could also be becoming an artist, becoming a musician, or becoming a poet or a writer. I would say that the Pisces North Node in your first house has really evolved you into an artist, a musician, a spiritual person, an intuitive person. And I'd say that since the Virgo South Node was in your seventh house, your one-on-one relationships helped you realize that about yourself. And and I'd say that you've had a lot of personal and relationship growth with the Virgo South Node in your seventh house and the Pisces North Node in your first house. So, if I have one more thing to say for Pisces risings, is maybe, I think that might be it.